What's up, guys? In this video I want to show y'all how to do the double diamond braid. It's the braid where the skirts come together behind the seat when you're building a saddle. That braiding that a lot of people do right there, I call that a double diamond braid. It's what it was taught to me as. And so it's a really easy braid. It's not very hard. It's not something that you've got to be a master braider to be able to do, but it's a very useful braid. And I'm going to show you how to do that braid, how to start it, how to prep your lace. That's what this video is about. It's going to be a real quick tutorial. It's something that's going to be good for your toolbox. You're going to have it. You're going to learn it. You may need to reference this video occasionally to get it started, but once you get it started, it's easy. It's not something that's really hard to do. So anyway, let's get started. I'm going to show you that braid and get y'all going.
Okay, so right here we're just going to roll out our 6/7 ounce latigo, and I'm going to pull off a 3/8 inch strip of that. Sometimes you can go just a little bit over 3/8 depending on the size holes you use. I use a number 8 hole for this, so the 3/8 fits in there fairly well. And I'm just going to take my skiving blade and skiving knife here, and I'm just going to take some of that flesh side off. I'm pulling it down to from 6/7 to about 4, so just pulling basically the flesh off. I don't go much deeper than that. That flesh will kind of separate, come off pretty easily, and then you're down with a good thickness before we go to the beveler. And so here we're at our Henson lace beveler, and this beveler just uses injector blades. You can use your skiving knife, but it's a lot harder and it takes a little bit more time, but you can do it that way. You can also use a knife if you know how to do that. But here all it's doing is beveling the edge, and you want those edges beveled to a nice feathered edge all the way on both sides of that lace, and we're beveling the flesh side. And all that's going to do is make sure that lacing lays nice and smooth and you don't have any bumps in between your braid. And so as you can see there, that outside edge has been beveled now to a feather, and so now we'll do the other side. I recommend getting some type of lace beveler like this. There's a few different types on the market, and try to find one that you enjoy using. They're not usually really cheap, but they're worth having. Now I'll just come back to the bench here, and I'm just going to take off once I bevel like that, sometimes in some areas there'll be still a little bit of a nice hump running down the middle, and I want to take some of that off because I want my braid to lay fairly flat, and I'm not taking a bunch off. All I'm doing is refining that transition from the middle out to the edges. And now we'll take our head knife and we're just going to point the ends of our lace, and you want a full side thickness usually, or full side length usually on this lace, so you won't need it all, but the drop off that's left when I braid my skirts is perfect for putting on my billets, so it kind of kills two birds with one stone. So you want a good 6 to 8 foot piece if you can. That little pattern there just sets my holes. It's just a little pattern that I made, and it's just got the proper spacing. If you make you one of those, just be sure that those holes are spaced out 3/8 of an inch. Whatever your lace width is going to be, that's what you want your holes to be apart, center to center. And so we're just going to put that on there. It's got way more holes than I need. I think I'm using 7 on my skirts now, 7 holes. And then I'm going to take a number 8 squeeze punch and just punch those holes out. Now you can definitely use a wider hole, a smaller hole, whatever your goal is. Just remember the kind of rule of thumb is whatever your hole spacing is from center to center of 2 consecutive holes, that's how wide your lace needs to be, and that'll have good coverage and you won't have any blank spots in your braid. And then I'm going to take scissors and just trim. When I trim my sheepskin with shears, electric shears, I go through and gouge out that area where the braid's going to be, but I just clean it up a little bit with my scissors. And here I've got line-up holes where those nails are where those skirts were on the tree, and I'm just punching through the actual sheepskin now and putting a little bit of sinew or thread, whatever you want to use, just to hold the front end of these skirts together while we're braiding. And so I'm just going to tie that up just so they're not trying to separate from each other the whole time we're working on the end. And so now I put it on my drawdown. On one of them it works perfect where they kind of sit on there like they would on a saddle because these things are shaped, and so I want them to sit there while I'm braiding. Now I'm going to take that lace and just use saddle soap or braiding soap, whatever you've got, something like that, just to lubricate the lace as we're braiding, and it'll slide through a lot smoother. You'll get a tighter braid. So I want to run that through there a couple of times, front and back of the lace, and get a good amount of soap on there and work that in. And now we'll start our braid here. And what you want to do is you want to run each end down on your first 2 holes there at the end of the skirts, and you just want to run them down through your holes. And excuse the GoPro there in the shot, but this is the only way I get a bottom side and a top side view, because you're going to need to see both sides. And you want to get them even and just pull them straight down to where the skirts come together. And you've always got grain side out. And so as you can see, there's just two going straight down through the holes. And now we're going to move that right-handed lace kind of out of the way. And we're going to bring the lace on the left, and I'm using a spike just to widen the hole out a little bit. And we're going to take that left side lace and come up through the right side, just straight across. And we're going to pull that nice and tight and make sure. Now here at the beginning, be sure that your skirt stays square, because if you get a certain ways into this, you won't be able to pull them or shift them any. So be sure you've got them straight and level with each other. And then we're going to take that same lace that we just brought up through there, and we're going to go down through the next hole in line on the other side. And now we're going to do this again, and we're going to widen out that first hole one more time. This is the most important part, is how to get it started. And so we're just going, just like we did in the last step, we're doing that again. So we're going to take that left hand lace that we just went down with, and we're going to bring it up again through this first hole on the right hand side. So basically we've got 3 sections of lace coming out of that one hole right at the beginning. And that's how we want to start that. So we'll pull that nice and tight, make sure our skirts are square. If you get that little roll right there, you can put your awl in there and just kind of tickle that back and forth, and it'll make that edges of that lace lay down nice and smooth. So it'll sometimes want to bend back to you as you pull it through there. Be sure you tickle that a little bit, make it lay down so it looks nice. Now we're just going to bring that to the third hole up on the left side and come straight down, the same lace. This first step, all we're using is that left hand lace the whole time. It goes the same way. It's that one lace we're using. And so we've got 3 times going to the right or to the left. And now we're going to take that right hand lace that we haven't used yet, and now we're going to come up directly across with it. And when you do that, be sure that your flesh is facing inward and your grain side's facing outward, and that everything's laying nice and smooth. It's good to do that each step. Make sure everything's laying nice and smooth instead of trying to do it at the end and cleaning it up. So now we'll take that left lace that's sticking up. We've got our other lace that's down, and we're going to kind of split there. So we're going over, under, over. So I just run a spike through there, and then just take my left lace, the tip of that, feed it through there, and just take it through and just pull it tight, and be sure your lace is facing the right way. And you can kind of just push that in there and just kind of make sure everything's laying nice. So you can see we're over that first one, under the second, over the third. And now we're going to go down the second hole on the right. We'll go down right there. Now that's one complete move of that braid. So now we start our run. So now we'll run up. So we're going to go to the second hole, the middle hole, and we're going to come up with a right hand lace. Come up through there and make sure that's laying properly and nice and flat. And now, as you can see, we've only got one, and kind of tickling that lace there and getting it laid down. Now we've got one right there, and I just kind of pick it up right now before we take another step. I just kind of pick that up and run our lace through that opening. Just kind of pull it snug, and then pull the bottom string tight over it, and that'll hold it in place. Then we're going to take that bottom string, and we're going to bring it up on the right side through that next hole. So now we've got both strands up. So now it's the same thing. It's over, under, over. So we're going to pull the left one back out of the way, come down through the next hole, and pull that tight. And then that left lace will then go through the very next hole straight down, and that'll give us the same braid set that we had in the previous little set. And so that's an easy way to do it, to where you're not trying to feed and fid your way through, to where every step of the braid the end lace is loose, if that makes any sense, to where you can just pick it up, put it down, move it out of the way, put it underneath, then go down. It's just really, it runs a lot smoother and faster, and your braiding lays a lot better. And you're not trying to fight getting too many laces through one side or through one hole at a time. So we're bringing that right hand lace up again through that second to the last hole, pick that braid up, tickle our lace, make sure it's gonna sit in that hole really nicely, run our tail through that loop, pull it tight, pull the bottom strand tight, that'll hold it in place, move that out of the way. Now take that bottom lace, come up through the next hole in line on the right side, and then take that its tail and go down through the very next hole there. Once you do that, just kind of pull it tight, take that top lace and go down through the next hole in line on the right side. You pull that tight, and that completes the braid. And now we do these same steps going all the way down till we hit the end. It's the exact same steps. It's just like a little 3-step deal. Once you get it started, then it's the same steps over and over to get to the end. So now as we get to the end here, we're going to do the exact same steps, but now we're going to have to double up on some of the holes. So we're going to go down, you know, kind of pull that there, pull the bottom lace down tight over the top of it, move it out of the way, and then we're going to take that bottom lace and we're going to come up. We're taking the exact same steps, but we're just going to have to make a little change here at the end because we're out of holes. We're at the end. So as we pull that lace up to the top, and now we're going to go down the same way we would, but we're going to go through the same hole, or the last hole. So you'll have to go in there, even though you're already in there. We just kind of tighten that down, pull it back over the top, and now we'll go down the last hole on the right side, and we'll pull that down tight. Now that braid is done, so that's actually finished. If that was on a housing, you would flip it over underlay your lace and be done. But since it's on a skirt, you'll see that on the bottom. So what we're going to do is now we're going to bring both ends. We're going to come across the other side and bring it up, and that way we can bleed those together and into our lace. And so it'll look nice and finished on the bottom when the saddle's sitting up on its horn or whatever, and they're seeing that. The customer will see that, and so we want it to look finished and completed. So we'll just bring it up to the top, and I don't run it underneath any of the braid. I do a bleed, and I'll show you how to do that. But we're just going to pull both strands up, and so now you've got them both up at the top. Now these will be underneath the cantle, so you won't ever see it. The housing will be on top of it, and so you can end it any way you want. I prefer to just do a bleed knot or a blood knot, and so I just make a cut in the lace, bring the other side through that cut, and pull that tight, and then do another cut on that lace that we just brought through, and then bring that one around through that slot. And that's just a simple blood knot. You should know how to do that. If you don't, I'll show you how to do that in another tutorial, but I'm sure somebody's done one. But it's a very simple knot. It's a good way to finish lace. And then I just take my dikes and cut it off short. Now my stand is perfect for that little piece of aluminum, and I put it in there and then just pound the lace down real good. And that's going to lock down all that lace, give it a finished look. And if you skived and paired your lace correctly, it should look smooth without any bumps, and it'll hold the back end of them skirts together really, really well.